Hey guys, it's Vadim with MaxTech and welcome to our 2021 Apple Watch Buyer's Guide, where I have the brand new Apple Watch Series 7 as well as the Series 3 and the Apple Watch SE. So in this video, I'm gonna show you guys all of the differences and compare them so you guys will know which one you should buy. So starting off with the prices, we have the Series 3 for $199, we have the SE for $279, and of course the Series 7 for $399, and that is double the price of the Series 3. It's a lot more expensive, so basically in this video, we're gonna see if it's worth spending twice the cash on the Series 7. Now the first difference I want to get into is the actual cases themselves. Now both the Series 3 and the SE can only be purchased right now with an aluminum case. You have either space gray or silver on the Series 3. You have also gold like we have here on the SE, but the Series 7 can also have a variety of aluminum case colors like this green, brand new one that we have, as well as the red and the blue. And you also have the options for the stainless steel and the titanium, which are a lot more premium. And comparing the cases themselves, there are some differences. Looking over on this left side, the Series 3 has the oldest layout for the microphone and the speaker. As you can see, we have the speaker right there with the microphones. Now on the newer ones like the SE and the Series 7, the mic goes to the other side, so there's kind of like less interference. And we have a newer design for the speaker for the SE and another newer design that's brand new for this Series 7. And now as I'm holding these up, you can see the mics on both the SE and the Series 7, but there are some other differences. First of all, for the crown, you actually get the kind of notches all the way through the crown instead of just on the edge. And the SE and the Series 7 actually have haptic feedback, so you can kind of feel some pressure or some like the haptic motor, whereas you don't feel anything on the Series 3. And the last difference is that the side button actually sticks out on the Series 3, whereas it's flush on both the SE and the 7. Now one thing I do want to mention is that all three of these Apple Watches were the largest size at the time. So the Series 3 is a 42mm, the SE is a 44, and the new Series 7 is a 45, so it actually gets slightly taller than the old ones. And the final difference I want to mention before we go to the back sides is that the case is more rounded, not more flat. It's more rounded this year, so it kind of like meets with the glass. So we'll definitely show you guys the display differences in just a minute. All right, now that we're on the back side, there are some big differences here. The Series 3 has a composite back, so it's basically plastic. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's got a lot of like micro scratches on it. Now the SE has a new sapphire glass and ceramic back, just like the Series 7, so they're more scratch resistant and they look much nicer. Now you'll also notice some differences in the layout of the sensors. So the Series 3 has the first gen optical heart sensor, then we have the second gen, and then finally the third gen. So it's basically gonna be better at sensing all your heart rate data and everything like that. And the Series 7 also supports the new blood oxygen monitoring feature. And the nice thing is that even the Series 3 gets the high and low heart rate notifications, as well as the irregular heart rhythm notifications, but the SE and the Series 7 come with extra features like international emergency calling, fall detection, noise monitoring, a compass, an always-on altimeter, and an option of buying a new model with cellular service. And now that we're done with the backs, I've got them all right here on my wrist. It's definitely not comfortable, but I do want to show off one more feature that's exclusive to the Series 7, and that's the ECG feature. As you can see, I have my finger on the crown, and it's making an electrical signal, and it's basically just measuring my heartbeat. So let's let this run. And there you go, it's finished. It just confirmed that I am, I guess, kind of healthy. But moving on, there are some massive differences in the displays. And I know you can't really see that right now because they're all black, but there are some massive differences that I'm gonna show you really soon. But first, I wanna get over some of those other technical differences. In terms of the chips or the processors that are powering these Apple Watches, the Series 3 gets a very old S3 chip, and to be honest, it isn't as smooth of an experience in terms of the performance. Now the SE has the S5 chip from the Series 5 Apple Watch, and there are literally no, I guess, disadvantages or noticeable performance issues. It's definitely fast enough, and now the Series 7 has the S7 chip, which is actually a rebranded S6 because both the Series 6 and the 7 are 20% faster than the SE, so no performance issues. It's definitely really nice and fast. Now, in terms of the wireless specs, both the SE and the Series 7 have the new W3 wireless chip, which basically makes the connection between your iPhone and your Apple Watch. It makes everything work really nicely with low latency, while the Series 3 actually has the older W2 chip. Now, the Series 7 exclusively has the U1 ultra-wideband chip, which is meant for tracking and being as accurate as possible. Now, moving on, both the SE and the Series 7 have a new second generation speaker that is 50% louder than the one on the Series 3. So let's just do a nice little speaker test.
It's currently cloudy and 57 degrees. It's currently cloudy and 57 degrees. It's currently cloudy and 57 degrees.
Now, there's also another sensor difference. Both the SE and the Series 7 have a new 32 G-force accelerometer, which enables the fall detection feature, while the Series 3 only supports up to 16 Gs, so it doesn't have it. And in terms of the storage, there's actually a massive difference. The Series 3 only has 8 GB of storage for storing things like music or whatever else, while both the SE and the Series 7 have 32 gigs, which is definitely nice. And now, before we get into comparing the displays, the SE and the Series 7 support Bluetooth 5, while the Series 3 only supports Bluetooth 4.2, but the Series 7 exclusively supports the 5 GHz Wi-Fi band, so you're having faster Wi-Fi speeds, and it also supports faster charging. That's 33% faster using the new USB-C charging cable. And here we go, the biggest difference that you are gonna notice. Day to day, we have the display differences. 42mm, then we have 44 and 45. And even here, you can actually see a difference. You can see how limited this display is compared to much better and bigger here, and way bigger, like very small bezels here. And check this out, boom. Always on display, which is exclusive to the Series 7 and the other high-end older watches. But as you can see, this is definitely more premium because you can see the time, you can see the date. You don't have to tap it or raise your wrist to turn these on. And now finally, we can examine the display differences. As you can see, we have a totally square display on the Series 3, and in my opinion, this looks like garbage. I hate it. I can't stand it because we have the rounded edges or the corners on the other watches. So as you can see, you have thinner bezels here with the rounded corners. Looks much better on the SE, but on that Series 7, wow, those bezels are incredibly thin, and you're getting just so much more display than on the other ones. And I wasn't expecting this to be as nice, but man, it's definitely more immersive and it looks much better. As you can see here, I have the Maps app open, and it's just so much more immersive with the new one, and it's very quick and snappy. Whereas you have like this old square design, like you can barely see anything on the Series 3. It's definitely limiting. Now, between the SE and the Series 7, it's not that big of a difference, but just having those super thin bezels, definitely nice. Now, what's awesome about the larger display on the Series 7 is that you actually get a full-size keyboard where you can tap or you can swipe to make different text messages, compared to the Series 3 where you have to type everything out letter by letter, just like on the SE. So that definitely sucks compared to having the full-sized keyboard exclusively on the Series 7. And overall, the Series 7 is more useful because it has much newer watch faces that look better than the ones on the older ones, especially if you take a look at the Modular Duo, where you have 2 full-sized complications, which you can't get on any other Apple Watch. And now, the last thing I want to mention before we get into the buyer's guide portion of this video is battery life. Even though Apple rates all of the Apple Watches at 18 hours of battery life, the Series 3 actually gets noticeably worse battery life than the SE and the Series 7. Now, since the SE does not have an always-on display, it actually might get better battery life than the Series 7 because this has to stay on and it is brighter than it was before. And now let's get into the buyer's guide, starting off with who should be buying the Series 3. to be completely honest, I don't think that anybody should be buying the Series 3 because first of all, it's only $80 cheaper than the SE and it has so many disadvantages, especially the performance with the S3 chip, where you do in real life notice a lot of stuttering and choppiness and stuff just loading slowly compared to the SE and the other Apple Watches. And on top of that, the display is just so much worse, and the speakers, the crown, just everything is just not a good experience. And honestly, I don't think Apple should be selling it anymore. It's just so outdated. Now, moving on to the SE, this is actually a really great choice because you can set this up if you buy the cellular model for a kid and they can use just the Apple Watch by itself without having to connect it to an iPhone. And it just overall has a nice feature set, almost matching the same features from the Series 5. So it's definitely a good value for $279. And I think if you don't really care that much about having the highest end or best features, you just want a nice and new fresh Apple Watch, the SE is definitely a great choice. And finally, we have the Series 7. This is for people who haven't upgraded for years. Maybe you still have the Series 3 or maybe the Series 4 and you're finally ready to upgrade. This is a nice upgrade because it has all the latest features, the health features with the blood oxygen monitoring and everything else. And of course, the larger display with the much slimmer bezels. It's just a nice immersive experience that lets you use the Apple Watch to basically the max. And to be completely honest, just the always-on display by itself just makes it feel so much more useful and premium because the display is on and it kind of looks like a real watch where you actually have stuff there instead of being completely black. And it honestly just looks weird to have nothing there while the always-on display is there and it looks nice and it's useful. You can read all your text, whatever you have, your information, and the time. It's just so much better. Now, finishing off with my own personal experience with which one you should buy if you're a new Apple Watch buyer, I'd say just go straight for the Series 7 for $400 because in reality, most people keep their Apple Watches much longer than their iPhones. So we're talking 4 to 5 years with the same Apple Watch. So for $120 more than the SE, you're just getting so much bang for the buck. So it's not that much more money if you're considering 4 to 5 years of using it. So definitely just buy this one if you're a new Apple Watch buyer. So there you guys go. Hopefully this video helped you make a decision on which Apple Watch to buy. And we're actually gonna have the links to each of these Apple Watches, including the Series 4, 5, and 6 at a discount with the sales on Amazon down in the description below. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video.